So I've built on the idea from the last video. I've added some UI to this scene where if the player dies, we have this menu that pops up. We can return to the previous menu. If I click on start game, we're back to where we started. I can also restart the same scene. Restart. This is the same transition mechanic from the last video. Whether it's reloading the same scene or loading a different scene, it's the same thing. Just a matter of which scene are you going to load. If I look at the hierarchy, we have the scene changer. I renamed this from temp scene changer to just scene changer. And because we might be reloading the same scene, we have two different game objects with different strings. It's either the empty scene, which is the previous scene, the intro, I guess, or the same snake test scene. This is the snake test scene. If I look at the empty scene, we have the same scene changer. I guess I should put the name into the game object name, the scene name. And if I start from this scene, it should still be the same. Start game. And come back. If I look at the scene changer code, I've gotten rid of the escape button. We don't need it anymore. We're now going to use the UI to navigate through different scenes. And I think I forgot to mention this in the last video. What triggers the scene change is, if I look at the UI, I'm using this onClick function. I simply dragged in the scene changer and then selected which function I want. In this case, it's change scene. You know, not everything has to go through the event system. This is built in the button script, so I might as well use it. And the same thing with the game scene. If I look at the buttons, the UI buttons, restart and return, they both have the button script. And then on click, I've dragged in which game object I want and which function I want. So we have two different objects with the same code, but the only difference is the public string, which is the scene name. And turning on this menu is rather simple as well. If I look at the snake, I've added a new script called snake player. The script will hold the basic info about the player. Right now we just have whether the snake is dead or not, but in the future we'll have more. This variable used to be in the snake body manager, but I just moved it here. And in the update, we check whether the snake is dead or not. If the snake is dead and the death menu is not on, we turn on the death menu. If I look at this function, F12, we don't turn it on immediately. We wait 1 second and then we turn it on. I haven't made it yet, but I'm going to need a brief moment to play an animation or indicate that the snake is dead. Maybe some particle effect or something. And the rest is pretty much the same mechanic from the last video. We have scale up and down. This is the event and listener system. If you download this project, play around with it and see the code yourself, everything should be pretty straightforward. But maybe a few things that are worth mentioning might be something like the canvas group here. Unlike the transition screen, which is just a sprite, a single sprite, this menu is made up of the back image, the black image, plus two different text objects. The canvas group allows you to change the entire alpha of all the objects under the hierarchy. But turning down the alpha should not be the end of it. I've seen a lot of people turn down the alpha and just leave things there. But when you do that, you're rendering the image, calculating the alpha, and then rendering what's behind it. This is not the same as turning off an object. You should just turn it off. It's not the same as bringing down the alpha. So if I look at the animator for this menu, if I look at the animation, This is a keyframe where I turn down the alpha, and then the next frame is where I turn off the image. And we still have the two buttons. So at the end, we have this little event that's called turn off buttons, meaning when the animation reaches this point, turn off button functions will be called. If I look at the code, here they are. I either turn off the buttons or turn them back on, depending on which state you're in. If I don't turn them off, the buttons, for example, let me play without turning them off. So the buttons right here, even though you can't see them because of the alpha, if I click, the button has triggered a scene transition. I'm going to go back to the code and put it back in. And I'm going to do the same thing, except because it's turned off, you can't click on it anymore, not unless it's back up. And it's pretty much it. If I look at the animator for the death menu, it's very similar to the transition screen. We have a couple keyframes. We're just switching in between those two frames and blending them depending on the parameter. The code is there just to change the parameter at the right moment. Okay, that's it for this video. Thanks for watching.